So yeah, it's Greg Davis here from New Zealand.
Oh, yeah.
Called last Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So you're all ready for it?
Yeah, fine. Rocking.
Speaking, you've been doing some talking with some Australians, have you?
Yeah. They the enemy.
Oh no, not really.
They were good. That nice pair of boats. Could I do it in here, please? I'm just changing rooms.
Right. All right. So we've got about 25 minutes, I've been told. So right, I'm impressed that you've got it all back together. You know, you guys and put out a great record. I really like that, Evergreen.
Oh, thank you.
I've been a fan since way back. You know, with the first record, Crocodiles, and Heaven Up Here was one of my favourites. You know,
that's
years.
quite often the fans' favourite record. It's usually between that and Ocean Rain.
Yeah, well, Ocean Rain was I think more long lasting, eh? I mean, it's you put it together.
At the time, Heaven Up Here, I think we just, because we went off on a tangent and proved that we used the chemistry of the band more on that record probably than any other. Just a weird way of writing and recording a lot of things, just very spontaneous and also just things. Crocodiles was more song based. And then Heaven Up Here, because everyone was full of confidence and their own ability, things could start with a drum beat or a bass. Les might have a bass line that he thought was great, and we'd insert that into other riffs and stuff. And I remember at the time thinking, no, this isn't proper songs, but I finally I just got into that process of writing where Les would say, well, can't we try this riff in that riff? And I'd go, no, can't we just make two songs out of it? And then, because that was always my thing, it's like, they both sound really good, let's just make two songs. And Will and Les and Peter go, no man, let's just see what it sounds like, you know? And I'd say, oh, okay then. And from that, we kind of discovered a new way of writing.
Yeah.
More like, it was almost collagey, some of it. Not every song was like that, but it did get a bit like that, and I thought that was fantastic for Heaven Up Here. And then I think we got stuck in that a little bit on Porcupine, even though Porcupine, I think, on headphones is mind-blowing. I remember listening to it once, and it was a nightmare to make because for me, I wanted to go back to the more songy approach, and everyone else was still thinking, now we can do all this with one chord, different riffs on one chord, and I was like, oh god. And I think that's why I started going up an octave at the chorus, because I was trying to make some dynamics out of songs that quite often did only have one chord. Not all of them on Porcupine, obviously.
Yeah.
But and then we finally reverted back to a more songy way of writing for Ocean Rain, which I think I prefer generally, but I do on the next album.
Yeah.
I do think we can do that.
So the next one after Evergreen, you mean?
Yeah.
You'll get back to sort of songs, you think?
Well, I think Evergreen is very songy, so...
Well, I know that too, yeah.
I think the next album may be a mixture. Because I've got about 8 songs kind of pretty much written for the next album. And I want another 8 to pick from of maybe more band-orientated stuff and band-initiated, because I do think the next album can afford to be a little bit more, not experimental, but just more loose in structure.
Yeah, I get that. I liked Porcupine as well. I used to do a bit of college radio DJing. I used to play the title track, and it's good. It's epic. But you get the idea, and you get the idea that you wrote your lyrics. You sort of do it as bit by bit, and some of them are good. They stand out like just phrases. You know what I mean? Like pine for the pork and things like that.
Pine for the pork and the porcupine.
Yeah, there's resonant sort of phrases. So I figured out. I reckon you do the lyrics. A lot of them after the music. Yeah,
I mean, quite often. I think with Evergreen, a lot of them, at least certain key lines were written pretty much as I was writing the song. Yeah. But it's very hard to kind of come up with the phrase. Quite often the melody line comes and then an early line, with me, an early line will stick. I want to be there when you come. was never meant to be. I think I just wrote that without thinking, and then I thought I'll change that maybe, and then I thought no, that's probably one of the best lines I've ever written. You know?
Yeah, it's a good one because I mean, on this album, you're getting a bit more accessible. Your lyrics are less ambiguous.
Yeah.
And so I can sort of, and now that you've come back, well, you never really. Oh, I suppose you did sort of go away, but you did your solo stuff.
Yeah.
You now you kind of can compare yourself to like Leonard Cohen or Lou Reed. You've got the more accessible lyrics. And
yeah, I mean, I think because it always used to worry me that people, I never realised how ambiguous a lot of it was. I used to think, well, it's pretty obvious what I mean by sick as a pig, this pork is mine, fighting for the pork, the porcupine.
Yeah.
But it was me just trying to be clever because I had English A level, you know. And I thought, at the time, I thought I must be the only singer in rock who's got an English A level, and I obviously wasn't, you know. And I think I used to just, you know, pose around a bit with wordplay. But there's nothing cleverer than a direct lyric to the heart, you know.
Yeah.
I think I was guilty of trying to aim above people's heads, you know, and I was obviously going above people's heads because if I read my lyrics back now, I don't understand them myself, you know. But at the time I used to think, oh no, these really mean something, and you know, it was just me being young and trying to create an impression, you know.
Still, I mean, the chemistry was there, and that's what I was going to ask. I mean, is this strong album evergreen? Is it the result of the mix of your personalities in the band, right? Is there friction?
I think it's the truest reflection of, for me, in my lyrics of me. You know, there's a little bit of, I wouldn't say humour because I don't think songs and humour mix that well. You know, there's some tongue-in-cheek stuff. I want to be there when you come, I think, is cheeky enough, you know, but I think musically we were never angst-ridden in the way that people might have perceived us, you know. We used to have a real laugh together, and still do. And as people, no one is heaven up here, kind of, in, you know, you couldn't live like that, you couldn't live your life.
So sort of grand or reaching out.
Of maybe overblown romantic. I mean, I am a romantic, but only in the way that Just a Touch Away is, or Forgiven, or Nothing Lasts Forever. It's not, oh, promise, you know, it's not that.
Yeah, you brought it back down to a more song approach.
Yeah. And just better words, I think, generally, because you can understand what I'm on about, you know. And maybe the odd fan will miss me singing about tortoise shells and you know, I can't even, turquoise days, what the hell's a turquoise day, you know?
Oh, well, yeah, it could be the colour of the sea out somewhere in Greece or somewhere.
Yeah, actually it probably was, because we went on holiday to Greece in 81.
Oh, yeah.
Or maybe it was 80, maybe that was the turquoise, or those were the turquoise days, but, I mean, I picked maybe a bad example, but my life certainly wasn't a disease, even though I think it's a great little song, but it's only one aspect. It's like Leonard Cohen, maybe. Some of his songs probably sound darker and more not depressing, but...
Yeah, but that in my life's the disease. I mean, it's uplifting at the end of it. I mean, you got a sort of message there in simple.
Yeah, I forgot about that bit.
You know, that's the area of emotions you quite often deal with. It's more resonant than you know, usual pop.
Yeah,
emotions.
I mean, I do like to kind of always have that flip side of the uplifting, even if it's just something in the melody, you know. It's not always the lyric that is the uplifting thing. It's funny, the end of Nothing Lasts Forever, a friend of mine who knew the song before even Will had heard it, a lad called Peasy, I used to play it, and he'd say, that end bit, all the shadows and the pain are coming to you. He said, the most uplifting thing I've ever heard. You sure? It says all the shadows and the pain are coming to you. And he said, I know that doesn't matter, it's the way you sing it.
Yeah.
And the tune and the vibe behind it. It's I don't know, and I agree with him, that's kind of, I did want it to be uplifting, but with those words, I worried that people would just think, oh, it's a real negative thing. To me, it's me being very real. That's the reality. All the shadows and the pain do come to you, but you get through it, you know.
Yeah.
And,
it's quite clever that, because I've got it written here. I was going to ask. At first, I thought, what you're still in the depressed vein kind of thing, but now with repeated listens, like it's been on the MTV and everything, it transforms into that positive mood, and that's basically your strength, isn't it? From Killing Moon and all that.
Yeah, I mean, the Killing Moon, it's pretty much a similar kind of train of thought that, you know, it's the Killing Moon is out there, and you're guided, and your life's determined by the obvious fact that you die, you know. But in the meantime, get magical, you know. And that's all I ever want to do. I want my life to be crammed full of magical moments, you know.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what Nothing Lasts Forever is about. It's kind of, as a title, it might sound, I mean, that's kind of something that in the past I'd have filled that song with maybe too much cryptic stuff, and the feeling would have been a negative one. And I think most people, when they hear that record, it's the line that they sing, it's not nothing ever lasts forever. They sing, I want it now, I want it now. And to me, that's the big difference in what I'm doing now. And what the band are doing. It's like it's more, and it's a cliche sometimes, or it's a bit too pat to say it's positive stuff, you know. I don't want it to be positive in the way that,
as a rule,
Bon Jovi or Bono in the 80s might have wanted it to be positive. It's about questions still, and resolving them in a different way than I would have done on Heaven Up Here. It was all windswept and mountainous, and I think I always thought the resolutions were, and the resolving of whatever questions I was coming out with, were in the stars and the sky and the wide open spaces, whatever. And I think with this album, it's all within me, and I think that's what I've realised. And why this re-ignition of the Bunnymen. I've said this to a few people, that when I wanted the Bunnymen to end in '88, I really thought I was going to set out on a voyage of discovering my lost soul. And all that happened was I lost it, you know. I already had whatever soul I wanted and was going to have. And all that happened, I mean, I thought I was going to find my soul, and I ended up losing it. And this album is kind of, there's a lot of me rediscovering over the last 10 months, or actually, what month is it? It's almost a year to the day since we decided we're going to do this.
Is that right? So it's been quite quick.
Yeah, I mean, it was last August, and then we were in doing demos. We did 20 songs in about 12 days, demos, and then found the record company we were happy with, and started in February. It took 4 weeks to record, 2 weeks to mix, and then we were playing in May. You know, it has happened so quickly, and the record was brought forward 2.5 months, and instead of generally they put them back, ours was brought forward, so it meant it feels fresher than it would have.
Well, that's good.
So we had to learn things very quickly. We had to learn how to be a great live band
again.
In 10 days rehearsal, but we knew in the rehearsals it was sounding so fantastic and the first gig was Liverpool at this hip club, and the reviews from that were just far too good for the gig that we did in a way. But I think what people sensed was that there was a band there on fire, and there was a vibe, and I think that's sometimes without that you can be the best, most proficient band in the world, but if the fire isn't there and that sense of excitement about you being on stage, it doesn't mean anything, you know. And that can happen to any band, whether it's some load of crap like, well, not load of crap, but it can happen to Pink Floyd, and it's like watching paint dry. But it can also happen to young bands who, if they're not on fire, then, you know, it's music by numbers, you know.
Yeah, I find you two are like that most of the time anyway.
Yeah,
you know,
I mean,
sort of
but I do think there was possibly the time when that fire was there, I didn't like them.
Yeah.
There was something else that put me off, like the haircuts or the Born Again Christianity or whatever.
Hey, in the old days, I think you were quoted as describing yourself as is it an oceans and mountains band? Is that correct? That quote?
I think I might have done.
Something like that. But how do you think you'd describe it now?
Skyscrapers and reservoirs.
I thought cathedrals maybe.
Yeah, cathedrals.
I won't change it. That will go with yours. Yeah.
No, put skyscrapers, reservoirs, and cathedrals. I like that because I think maybe I was going too far the opposite way. Cause
reservoirs is a bit. Yeah, that's a bit. Oh, I suppose they're life-giving, aren't they?
Yeah.
Evergreen kind of.
Yeah.
What's the meaning to you of evergreen, the title? I don't want to dwell on it too much, but.
Well, there's the kind of evergreen that is almost like classic, standard, never let you down.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Yeah. But if you split the word in two, it's for me like ever naive or ever innocent. And I think that to me is the most important thing. A lot of my songs in the past have been about lost innocence, and I thought that once you lost innocence, that was it. There's no coming back. You just wallow in self-pity for the rest of your life, and regret and stuff. And I've discovered, it all hinges around this thing, the Echoandthebunnymen. I can't explain why it means because when I started the Bunnymen with Will and Les, I was 1 year old in terms of what I'd done and what I'd experienced.
Yeah.
So the whole Bunnymen thing, those 10 years are my formative years. You know, I don't remember too much of what happened before, other than being so shy.
Right.
So I think, oh God, what was me saying at that then? Lost innocence. Since being Echoandthebunnymen again for the first of our second amount of years, I've become innocent again, or part of it has come back, and it's the best I've been feeling. You know, I don't.
Yeah, it's like a creativity as well, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just you've got to. Oh, hello, Mimi. Here's Mimi, the 2-year-old terror. She's shown me a jumper. That's fantastic, Mimi. And here's Candy, the 11-year-old, or 11-year-old in 2 weeks.
Is this your only two children?
Yeah, two girls.
I suppose all the guys have got children, have they?
Will's got 2 girls, Les has got a girl and a boy. These are my little women, as I sometimes refer to them.
From the strength of this album, say compared to that New Order's last one, right? There's a lot more to come, I think, from the Bunnymen.
Oh, yeah.
Their one just dribbled out. It was all producers' efforts by the sound.
Yeah, I mean, that we did this ourselves, and I think that's another good sign that we didn't look for anyone. I mean, there was talk initially of who could produce us, because we'd done the demos, and the manager said, they're produced already, that's what they sound like. We just get Adam, who did Ocean Rain strings, get him in. That's the biggest production kind of idea, in a way, to get the right string arranger.
Yeah.
And to decide, because the strings are very important on this album, and I spent a long time kind of making sure the arrangements were right, and you know, you come up with an intro, a great verse, a great chorus, and you're laughing, you know, you get the middle bit together, and then it's just down to whether you can cut it as a band, you know, and we obviously can. So to me, just the spirit and the vibe. As I say, I've got 8 songs ready to be demoed for the next album. I can't wait to do them. I mean, I love this album and I love playing live and stuff, and there's not going to be any danger that in 6 months' time I think I'm fed up with this.
Yeah.
I feel like the luckiest man on the planet.
Yeah.
As well as knowing that we've done a great record, you know, I do feel really lucky or privileged or something, you know. I feel glad anyway. So I just wanted to keep rolling. I love writing songs, and I'd forgotten how great it was to feel that spark of, I want to go and do these new songs, give me 3 days off where I can go and sort of demo the next album.
Yeah.
And over the years, I think that got eroded, you know. I think, oh God, I better write another 11 average songs. Or not average, but always be a couple of really good ones. And I just didn't have the spark. I didn't know I'd lost it even. And to be back in that kind of, just that feeling, it's like anything, you know. I think 9 years is maybe a long fallow period to have, but if it took 9 years to get on with the rest of my life, then, you know, that's how it had to be, obviously.
Time well spent, yeah. Well, Peter Hook was saying to me, I did an interview with him a couple of months ago for Monaco, and his Monaco success sort of is like yours. You're sort of having a similar comeback, you know.
Yeah.
He believes that these days you can just continue rocking until you're old, you know.
Yeah.
And you guys are like positioning yourselves without maybe obviously doing it like the statesmen of rock. Like you could be like the Stones. I mean, put out a great LP.
Well, the thing with the Stones, they were associated with rebelliousness, and that is where they came a crop at it, and it wasn't necessarily their fault. You know, people's image of the Stones were they're the bad boys, and it's kind of like where maybe Pink Floyd. I mean, I'm not a big Pink Floyd fan anyway, but maybe where we never aligned ourselves with any kind of, you know, youth cultural thing. It was just, we're Echoandthebunnymen and we are culture, you know. It's a different thing to spearhead in a cultural wave, you know.
Yeah.
And it's where bands like the Pistols can't possibly succeed, where the Velvets was maybe so distant a kind of living group. You know, it was pretty much 25 years since they played last, and that is maybe too long a time to bridge. Even though I saw them in Paris, and if it wasn't for Lou Reed playing with a guitar with no end on, and not remembering or bothering to sing the proper tunes, it would have sounded fantastic. If Lou Reed had have had any idea about being a cool dude again, it could have worked, even if it was just playing the old stuff, because the sound from the stage was incredible. But he just decided to sing everything like his solo records, you know.
Yeah.
And play with a stupid guitar that Lou Reed and the Velvets would never have shot in. He'd have trashed it, you know. So it's just, I think you can keep rocking till you're old. I think it helps as well to not look old, to look under 30, which a lot of people comment on. They say, where the hell are you getting them southern drugs to stay like that? And it's like, you know, from me dad's genes, you know.
Yeah.
But whereas Hooky doesn't necessarily look under 30, but he's come up, he's got himself together, and he's come up with, I've only really heard that first single, but it's something pop smash, you know. And it's as good as probably anything that New Order did over the last few years that they were together.
Yeah.
And I was made up for him because, you know, he's kind of been made prior to this Monaco thing, a bit of a laughing stock. It's like, oh, Hooky, this old bastard. And now it's Barney who, because Barney and Johnny Marr were together, and it was like the dream team. Yeah. And the press goes in cycles, you know. It's like, oh, Johnny Marr can do no wrong. And now he's in limbo land.
Yeah.
You know, everyone can go through it, and it's, for me, I just didn't want any more of that sudden limbo, you know. I'd sooner, if I was going to go out and go down, I wanted it to be with the Bunnymen. Maybe that was at the back of my head that, you know, if my time was running out as a valid songwriter or whatever. Let's make one last Bunnymen album. And as it turns out, it's the first of many.
Yeah.
Or the sixth of many Bunnymen records. And it's to me, I through all them 9 years, whether it was Electric Fiction or solo, the thing that was missing, I could have written Imagine and no one would have suddenly paid any notice. And I think it was because I was totally out of context, and I see that now, that people can now put Evergreen in context with the other Bunnymen records, and even in a way my solo records can now be seen differently, and Electric Fiction, it's all part of this one thing in a way.
You're working things out.
Pardon?
Part of working things out.
It's kind of brought it all back in perspective, and I think that's why people are going. Also, when people have seen us live, we did the Hanover Grand last week or 2 weeks ago, and the reviews were just, these are the best thing on stage in the world.
Good one.
And it's like, bloody hell, we are, aren't we? Because I've seen Oasis and I really like them, but they haven't got what we've got. We've got rock and roll plus all that other stuff, you know.
Yeah.
And it's a great feeling to think. And we don't need big light shows or Pop Mart or whatever. We've got it, and we always did.
Right.
And it just feels great again.
Hey, so you were at the Hanover Grand. I heard Bowie was playing there a few weeks back, a couple of months ago. Did you see that?
I didn't know we were in America, I think, but I mean, that sounded like a vibe as well, but unfortunately he didn't play. He should have just gone on stage and done Hunky Dory and Ziggy Stardust and some other, bits of Low, but he did all this
drum and bass,
and I always call it bass and drums. I said it in an interview, and the writer, because I'm not that up on all that, and the writer says, and Max says, I wish he wasn't doing all this bass and drums, and then in brackets says, he didn't even know that he'd said it wrong, but so it's drums and bass, or drum and bass. I think, again, that's something that we didn't even have to make a decision on it. We just ignore kind of whatever trends are going on, and that's how you hopefully retain your timelessness. By the minute you start trying to update your sound with the new technology, unless that's what you inherently are, like the Prodigy, you become very dated, and it's a strange thing to hear, to hear Bowie date himself and talk about the internet and crap like that.
I think he's trying to stay young or something.
Yeah, but I mean, he looks fantastic. He's 50, and he should just go away and write another Hunky Dory, because it could be absolutely brilliant. And his voice, he does all this little wonder. But I heard him do a version of, just a few months ago, a version on acoustic of the Superman, I think it was. And it sounded fantastic. It sounded like his old voice. He's still got his old voice, but I think he just thinks that this new Cockney thing is better, which is mad. He should just go away and write some proper songs on an acoustic guitar.
Yeah, he must be getting all self-conscious or something.
Who, Bowie?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think he always was when I see him now. He looks awkward live, all his moves. See, his moves have dated as well, because he's too show busy now. Yeah. And something happened along the way when he went big, I think, and he had to become more of an entertainer instead of just this freak.
Yeah. Something
happened and he learned too many moves that he can't shake off.
Yeah. What did Liam Gallagher contribute to that single?
He sang. He did a bit of a Lennon BV, and then he does the yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good bit.
Good old Liam. Right. And it wasn't there. It wasn't even an idea until that night that we were mixing it, and he came in and went. He was just singing away, and then he went yeah, and I went, could you make that yeah? And he went, yeah, no problem. Yeah. And he went in, did it in 2 takes. or once, I can't remember, and that was it. And then he played some tambourine. He sat there and went, I can hear some tambourine on this. I said, go on and play it. And he played it, just stood there one take, and then he said, I can hear some hand claps at the end. So we all went in, about 5 of us in, Bonehead, me, an engineer or two, and stood on the mic and hand clapped for the outro.
Right.
And I just thought, that's brilliant. Within 20 minutes, he's just changed the complexion of the song.
Oh, okay. I'll have to re-listen and see what it's, yeah.
Yeah, just listen for the, it's in the, and I want more, and you just hear, it's almost like, hey Jude, and then it goes, yeah.
I'll have to use the headphones for that.
Yeah, and you should be able to hear the hand claps at the end.
Is,
definitely the tambourine.
Right, is anything, what music's impressing you these days besides your own? I mean, the Verve's new one?
I like some Supergrass, I like Radiohead a lot.
What about the Verve's new one?
I like the single, but I think Nothing Lasts Forever is a lot better.
Yeah.
And I heard a couple of tracks from the Verve album when I was in the studio last week, and one of them it sounded like Simply Red. It was very slick, and the next single sounds good, but it's still lacking a chorus. You know, I don't think they write choruses, and I do like a chorus.
Yeah.
And it sounded very posh, which worried me, because I listened to it and I thought, bloody hell, this sounds so smooth. And then I put on Evergreen and I thought, bloody hell, it sounded like the Pistols in comparison, you know.
Yeah. Oh,
so that worried me that maybe it got a bit slick.
Yeah,
and then when I heard this third song, it was a cross between Simply Red and Roddy Frame, you know, from Master Camera.
Yeah.
Who I love, but he can get very slick, and it had all that chink, and a bit like, you remember Spandau Ballet, so true, funny how it seems. It was that kind of, and I just thought, what the hell's going on here? But no doubt the Enemy will give it 10 out of 10.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, because that's there.
But I do like it there. I think he looks great, and you know, but I always felt that the songwriting wasn't that great. I just needed a better idea than they are.
I haven't actually heard the whole album, so I was just meaning the single, yeah.
Yeah, the single is it doing well there?
Well, I'm not sure, because I'm holidaying over here in Britain.
Oh, really?
And I haven't heard, but it's just a favourite song of mine at the moment, that's all.
Who else do I like? I like Suede. I think they turn out good pop singles. And Blair, I like.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some Blair stuff I don't like, but when they're good, I think they're really good.
The G's and Mary Chain's last album sounds a bit similar to your stuff now, because you're smaller scale, less epic now.
Yeah, I didn't hear the last Mary Chain album, but I don't know what they're up to at the moment. But they had some really great moments, you know. But I think they're just a bit too down, you know. I've met them a few times and something miserable bastards.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe they've decided to just. I'm sure they're working on something, but a band like that should be churning stuff out, you know.
Yeah.
And maybe their name, they need to lay low until their name becomes kind of important again. I think that was part of the problem with the Bunnymen at the end of the 80s. I thought, doesn't sound important, let's bail out. And now, when I read it, I think, yeah, that sounds like a classic group.
Yeah.
And the Mary Chain, I think maybe they should write that perfect Mary Chain pop single that they always threaten to do.
Yeah.
And just blow it apart again. You know, I do think that, because they've got a great pop melody kind of vibe to them, and I think all they've got to do is write that definitive Mary Chain single, or 3 of them, and then the back, you know.
Hey, your tastes, if they're reflected in your music, they don't appear to have changed too much since you were teenagers, you know?
No, I mean, I think that's the stuff that it's ingrained or whatever on your
when you're young,
you know. It's Bowie, Lou, Iggy, and a bit of Doors. was when I got a bit older.
Yeah.
And Leonard Cohen through all of it. Leonard Cohen, I think, is the dominant influence now lyrically.
Yep.
And I feel like I'm getting, because his lyrics to me, I think, is the best lyric writer ever. For me, anyway. It's so subjective, but he just lets me in. You know, I become Leonard Cohen through listening to Suzanne. And I think that's great to be able to do that and make someone feel that this is your son, you know.
Yeah.
And you've lived these things. And that's great. Without it being too far out of your reach, I think what Leonard Cohen does, he deals in familiar feelings and speaks from his own perspective, but they're not so out of reach that you're just pretending you can know these feelings. They're just common garden feelings that he dresses up in a great way.
Yeah.
So,
right, yeah, thanks for that. There's plenty there.
Great, well, I'm going to get ready to do I've got to go and do some shopping for the holiday. But,
Whereabouts are you now?
I'm in Liverpool.
Oh, yeah.
But, we're off to Menorca, Spanish island.
Right, for holiday.
A couple of weeks.
Who owns the car on the cover?
That was hired in Morocco. We hired it off some dodgy bloke in Marrakesh. I think Les would have liked it, but it's because he used to have an old Citroen. But it was a great car. Inside was fantastic.
They bounce around, don't they?
Yeah.
All right, well that's great. You know, I've got plenty there.
Okay, brilliant.
That'll sound good when it's all written up.
Nice one.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks a lot.
Cheers. Take care.
Bye.